Okay, I'm back, y'all, in Divine and Grateful Risings. How are y'all doing today? I hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome to From the Car to the Kingdom. My name is Touche Germain. If you are new, welcome. I'm so happy, so grateful that you are here. Y'all, this is my new podcast that I'm doing. And basically, it's a video vlog. It's a video vlog of my life. So this is day 2, but this will be episode 3. I didn't even know, honestly, y'all, if I was going to record or what to record, but I was just sitting here getting myself together. I just left the gym. Got showered, all that good stuff. And so now I'm kind of sitting here. I'm going to go hang out with my daughter in just a little bit. But I didn't know if I was going to, what I was going to record this morning. And then the Lord just put something into my spirituals. And so here we are going to talk about um, shame. And I've told y'all, like, I don't know until the Lord gives me the message what he's going to have me talk about. But this is what he was just talking to me about in my spiritual. So let me just tell y'all this. So I am on multiple platforms, and I'm on all platforms. Of course, we know we're going through the TikTok shutdown right now. I don't think it's permanent, but anyway, so I did. This is only the third video, and the Lord just put a little conviction in my spirituals. Did Daddy, you did. So he just convicted me a little bit, and the reason was because one of the things that the Lord has instructed me to do is to share this story. And yesterday, when I posted the first 2 of these videos, yesterday I didn't post them on Facebook, which is typically what I do. I typically post all of my videos on Facebook and YouTube. And so I didn't post the video on Facebook yesterday. And the Lord he just checked me a little bit, put a little check me in my spirituals about why he was like, why didn't you post it on Facebook? And I knew yesterday when I didn't post it on Facebook why I didn't post it on Facebook, but he made me come back and post it on Facebook today. So I published episode 1 on Facebook today. And as I was sitting here and I was doing my lashes, he was having a talk with me about, why are you ashamed? And one of the things that the Lord, as you are going through your wilderness season, some people are in a wilderness season because of their decisions, like me, because of the choices that I have made in my life. Other people are in a wilderness season because of things that were outside of their control, hence like the LA wildfires, right? And so, but for me, I just read a comment from someone on one of the other videos, and that's what kind of started the process of the Lord talking to me about it and why I didn't post the video on Facebook. And he made me look at myself and realize um, that I was dealing with some shame. Why? Because so I hope this message speaks to anyone who is embarrassed about their situation. And the Lord had to check me and remind me that he's already removed all of this from me, and I can't be embarrassed about doing his work. And so I realized I held myself back yesterday from posting, not just the videos that I recorded yesterday, but also the Lord has instructed me to post the videos from over a year ago or 2 years ago, which I have to do today as well. So just FYI, y'all, I'm kind of going to be releasing these videos that are right now in tandem with the videos that I have from 2023. Um, and I posted it. I published one last night. I took it down. I published it again and I took it down. And the Lord is like, "You gonna publish these videos." Why? Because there's a degree of shame that I realized that just since last night that I have been dealing with about the situation. And just keeping it real, right? Facebook is where that was the first platform I was ever on. So of course that's where everybody from my hometown knows me. I'm from Alabama, so everybody from my hometown knows me. I've been gone from there for so many years. Man, I did not know what the Lord was going to talk about, but I received it, Lord. So I felt some type of way. I was like, man, I don't want to post this on Facebook, because one thing for certain, two things for sure, and it's not easy telling your story. It's not easy being transparent and allowing people to see what you're experiencing, what you're going through. Um, it's not easy for people to see a very vulnerable side of you, even though, true story, y'all, like the Lord really has removed a lot of shame from me, mostly everything. Like, I'm not really ashamed about anything, because again, like He just told me, I'm doing His work. I'm doing what He is asking me to do, and so I can't be ashamed of Him. And so, again, I feel like the Lord is, he puts us in position to do our purpose, His will for our life. And so He made me go back, and so I just posted episode 1 on Facebook today. And so I also have to go back and post episode 1, which back then I was calling my podcast From Struggle to Success. But last night I watched through the first one of the videos, and true story, that's when it really kind of hit me. And the Lord was like, yeah, that's why. Because in that video, there were people like, how do I say this, Lord? The first video from the past that I'm going to post was from July the 6th, I believe, 2023. And at that time, I really did not know my purpose. So I was going live and doing the show and everything. I think at that time it may have been called This Morning's Message. I don't really remember. So I was still doing my show, reading cards, giving the message for the Lord. But I was also still in that stage of trying to figure out what the right thing was. And so at that particular time, I was I was trying things. Like, at one point in 2022, I went and got my insurance license to sell insurance, and I kind of quickly knew that that wasn't my thing. So fast forward to July of 2023, and I thought I was going to be in real estate investing. So I've tried a lot of things just to get to my purpose, which I absolutely know now, but did not know then. Again, journey, right? And so this is for somebody to understand, like, you're not going to always know immediately. Some people know immediately, but even if you know what your purpose is, you're still going to take detours. You're still going to go down paths that don't quite make sense, or that you think are right and then ends up not being right. And so I've done this multiple times. Insurance license, which I no longer have, but and then, like, last year or 2023, the way that I was going, instead of following the Lord, was I was trying to get into real estate investing, and I'm not involved in real estate investing at this time. I'm not involved with the people who, and in the video, if you end up watching that video, um, I'm not involved with any of the same things that I was involved with in 2023, like, at all. People, none of that. And as I was watching that video last night, I was just like, oh my gosh. And I had previously started to release these videos, but I ended up not doing it. But when I get off of here, I'm gonna go release that video. And so, um, man, so I was watching that video last night, and there was some shame, and I really felt it. And the Lord just kept like, He kept nudging me about it, but I just was like, I was trying to ignore it. And then this morning, just right now, like I said, I was sitting here in prayer, and the Lord was like, you're gonna have to do it. And so, um, I ended up releasing episode 1 on Facebook just now, but the Lord was taught, like I said, we're talking about shame today. And a lot of times, the reason that many of us don't talk about our situations is because we're ashamed of what we're going through. And like I said, the Lord has removed shame from me a lot. But when you have made decisions that weren't the best, when you have put yourself in a difficult situation, when you have done stuff that has ended you up in hot water, or has ended you up like losing, most people we put on a facade, right? We put on a facade and we smile and act like everything's good. But a lot of people are suffering in silence. You don't want people to know how bad you messed up your life. You don't want people to know how bad, what you're having to recover from. I mentioned for some of you, I think I mentioned on the first video. Let me just give y'all a backstory of what got me here, because this is, again, we're talking about shame, and there are some people who know this part of the story for me, and some people who don't. But many of you, as you're going through your wilderness season, one of the things that the Lord is going to have to remove from you is shame. And so, just as a backstory, what got me in the situation that I'm in, I'm not going to go into full detail. As stuff comes up, we'll talk about it. But I mentioned this before. I was a registered nurse for 20 years. Um, that was all I knew. But I went into major depression when my mom died in 2007, and I ended up addicted to prescription pills. And so I also experimented with other drugs. This is when I was still in Alabama, lost my nursing license as a result of this. I had to lost everything, had to move, me and my two kids, because my other daughter was in the army. Me and my two kids, we had to move to California. For a long time, I lied about why I had to move. At that same time, I was also running from an abusive relationship. I was in a relationship in a domestic, it was like a domestic violence relationship. And said guy, as far as I know, I think he's in jail because he tried to kill somebody. And guess what? Had I not had the Lord not moved me, mind you, I wasn't following the Lord at this time, but had the Lord not moved me when he did, that could have been me. He literally walked up to a girl or went up to her car and like shot in her car and shot her several times and tried to kill her. And I was in the and prior to that, like for almost a year and for about a year and a half, I was in a relation. I was dealing with this guy. I'm not even gonna say it was a relationship. I was dealing with this guy, and yes, he was. I'm a survivor. Okay, let me just say that. So lose my nursing license, no self-esteem, no self-worth in this, abusive relationship, and I end up losing everything, and I end up coming to California with my children. So I'm thinking it's so okay, boom, fresh start, cool. I'm getting, got me some fun. Took me a minute, stayed with my dad for like 6 months. Took me a minute um to get me a place to stay. So we stayed with him for a while. Ended up having some difficulties there with my dad and his now ex-wife. Um Finally got me a place to stay, and we'll talk more about this as we just talk about as different stuff comes up. But this is the backstory: trying to rebuild my life, and then boom, end up losing everything, losing my apartment, get behind because I lost my job, and everything just kind of, it was just like a cycle. It's been 7 years of basically just like famine for me, because true story, 7 years of famine. And so it just is, it that's what ended me up in California. And just going through this cycle over and over and over of loss. Some things were out of my control. When I lost the first job that I got here in California, it kind of started me on a path of just, man, whatever I could get. Most of the jobs that I was able to get were paying, $14, $15 an hour. Ended up losing my first apartment because I got behind when I lost my job. Ended up getting another apartment and was barely making enough money. By the grace of God, I was making enough money to just barely pay the rent. But and so then in 2019, was it 20, yeah, 2019, got my second apartment and had that apartment for several, up until March of 2023. That's when we ended up moving out of that apartment, because at this time, that's when the Lord told me to follow him. But I had gotten behind again on my rent because the jobs, just like I would lose a job. The job was seasonal. And then the last time I decided to quit my job. They decided to quit me as well. And so then boom, 2022, that was 2022. Um Now in that, I kind of start, so that's kind of the general backstory. But in 2021, I was like, okay, I'm gonna become an entrepreneur. And so being excited and trying to learn how to create businesses and stuff like that, I ended up making some bad decisions. When I lost my job in May of 2022, or they ended the contract, um I was on unemployment. And so what I did was, instead of paying my rent and being responsible, and we'll talk a lot about responsibilities as we're doing this From the Car to the Kingdom podcast, y'all. Instead of paying my rent, I was trying to build a business. But mind you, I knew nothing about building a business. I knew nothing about entrepreneurship. I knew nothing about nothing. And so in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm going to read tarot and it's going to be booming. And I'm thinking it's going to be quick, quick, quick. No understanding of how the Lord really worked. And so I made some bad decisions. I invested in some things, but I was investing in myself. Let me say this, and that's important. I was investing in myself. I was investing in my dream, but I had no direction. I had no understanding of what I was really doing. And so the things that I invested in were not things that I should have invested in. Let me just say that. I can't say if it would have been beneficial down the line or not, but at that time, I invested. I had the right intention, but I was investing in myself in the wrong way, in the wrong things. I didn't have any understanding, but I was investing because I was trying to learn. And so um that started me down a path. So what I did was I made bad financial decisions because I was being told that basically I could become a millionaire overnight. Like, it's going to happen right now. You can do this in 30 to 90 days. Like, and so I'm thinking, oh, bet. No understanding, y'all. Again, so many things. So anyway, the long and the short of that is I end up investing. So I'm spending money. I'm spending my unemployment money. Y'all, I done went on a trip to Miami to a business conference. And I was also I was, I was, I don't know. I don't know. I will say this. I'm glad that the Lord humbled me. My ego is what sent me to Miami. Okay. My ego is what sent me to Miami. My ego is what made me do a lot of the things that I did. I was spending money on things, but again, I'm being told that it was going to help me make money right then, like right now, right now, right now. And ultimately, no, it didn't. Because again, I had no clue. And at this time, I'm not with the Lord. Now, keep in mind, the Lord did not call me truly into service until September of 2022. And so all of this is happening like March of 2022. And so I'm getting paid, but instead of paying rent, I'm spending money on these classes and thinking that me taking these classes are going to help me make money. This is like a get rich quick kind of thing message. So I end up using my unemployment because now I'm not working. Now, mind you, my son and my daughter are still living with me. And instead of me being responsible, I done went on this trip to Miami. And in the midst of all of this, y'all, I also was in a very toxic relationship. But that's a story for another day. And up until I think March of 20, was that 2022 or 20? I guess it was 2020, either 2021 or 2022. It might have been 21. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We'll come back to that another day. So making bad financial decisions, right? And ultimately, what it led to was me getting behind on my rent. We're in the middle of COVID, for real, for real. Like, COVID is still, COVID was just at the point where it was kind of starting to decline. And then now it's like July. I go on this trip in July of 2022. And because I'm going to a business conference, and it was just like, okay. But it was my ego. It was very ego based. And I'm gonna reiterate that it was very ego based for me at that time. And so now my rent's behind, and they're like, you're gonna have to get out. And there was no way for me to catch up on the rent. I didn't have anyone to borrow from. By this time my credit is shot because I have maxed out these credit cards that I had worked so hard to build. I was really working on being financially responsible. And then all of a sudden this comes in, and now I have the two credit cards. I had never had credit cards before. I had finally built myself up to have like two credit cards, and they didn't even have a high limit, but taking these courses, I maxed them out. Um, like I just was making really, really, really bad money decisions, y'all. And so ultimately I ended up, the Lord was just like, the Lord called me September 2022. The Lord was like, hey, follow me. I say, well, what else do I have to lose? Now I was still very quote unquote spiritual person and thinking that I know how to. Now I was able to manifest some stuff. Like I manifested my car. But I also know now that the manifestation was actually an act of God saying, you know what, you foolish, but I'm gonna go ahead and bless you with this car. But I do believe in manifestation because I believed beyond believing because I needed this car. But instead, at the time I got this car. Let me just be clear. I I thought I was doing it on my own power and my own strength instead of God's strength. Does that make sense? I thought that I was responsible for getting this car ultimate, and it wasn't, but I wasn't on God's type of time at that time. And so I very much believe in manifestation. I very much believe that you can, if you want something, you can call it into being. But I also very much know that if I receive it, it ain't on my own strength. It's because God said, okay, I'm gonna give it to you, because there are things that I've tried to manifest that didn't work. So, or that I didn't receive because I wasn't ready for it. When you try to manifest money, how you gonna manifest $1 million and you can't handle $5? So this is what we're talking about again, shame, right? So needless to say, now I'm losing my apartment. And at this point, y'all, so September 2022, I'm still in my apartment, but I'm losing everything. I didn't have any money. Now the unemployment stopping. I had to try to reapply for food stamps. I had to apply for food stamps. There was a holdup with the food stamps. So it was nothing but the grace of God, y'all. I lost a lot of weight because didn't even have food to eat. Now, if this is when the Lord is calling me, and so I kind of did my foot in the church at that time because I was like trying to find answers. And so all I did all day long was just sit and watch sermons all day. That's all I did was sit and watch sermons. I was all day, all day, all day. I was, you go through that like religious fever is what I want to call, is what I'll call it. And so all I did, was watch sermons all day. Wednesday, I was in Bible study like that because I didn't have anything else to do. And I was just like, I had tried everything else. I had tried magic. I had tried spells. I had tried going to the crossroads. I had tried, y'all have no idea like how far God has brought me. Come on, Lord, how far He has brought me. I had tried a lot of things, y'all, trying to, with no understanding. And so, um, here I am, September 2022. I'm no longer doing the quote unquote magical stuff, but I'm still trying to, I'm still, and now I'm focused in on God. Hold on, y'all, because I don't know. So now I'm focused in on God. Now I'm focused in on trying to just get some answers. Had no understanding. So at this point, let me backtrack real quick and say, for many years, up until like September 2022-ish, right? I had been lying to people about why I had to move to California. And because I was ashamed. Because the reason I lost my license was because I was addicted to drugs. I was stealing drugs, diverting narcotics out of the hospital because I was depressed. And I enjoyed being high. Let's just be real about it. Like I had started experimenting with drugs, and so I enjoyed being high. And so I was, again, different life, right? And so then I started trying to chase the high. I was chasing the high, chasing the high. And so I started diverting. They ended up catching me but not like through a drug test. They just were able to see like my records of pulling the narcotics and all of that. Lost my license. So for years, I'm telling people that. Now, there was some other stuff that happened in the mean and in between time, like, family reporting me to the board of nursing. Like there was other things that happened, but that's what I blamed it on. So let me I'm saying that part because yes, I do have family that has reported me to the board. They reported me to the board of nursing because of being upset with me. Um, and at that time, I was actually doing stuff that could get me in trouble, but no, I wasn't, huh? No, I wasn't. But my family member got mad at me and reported me to the board of nursing. And so I was able to use that story as a cover, even though it really happened. It happened. It was able to, I was able to use that story as the reason for why I lost my nursing license. So there was truth in me doing drugs, but I wasn't actually was I think I was. So there was truth in it, but I was able to basically not be responsible and accountable for myself and blame it on someone else. But ultimately, I'm the reason I lost my license. And so but I was able to use that. So I did because for a long time I was ashamed of how I had gotten, because I worked so hard to get my nursing license. I went to nursing school twice, and I worked so hard to get my license, and then boom, now it's gone and it's my fault. And so moved to California, I'm telling everybody that's why I was ashamed to tell people that I was being abused. Okay. I was ashamed of that as well. And so nobody knew that I was getting my ass whooped for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay. Because I was ashamed. And so I'm, kind of just going with that story. But then I had to face God. Fast forward back to September 2022. I'm also at this point, well, before I even get to that, now, other things that I'm ashamed of. I'm, I moved first, I had been here, I moved here in 2017. So in 2018, I ended up moving a man from Alabama. Listen, don't be judging me, okay? This the truth.com. Ashamed. That's what we're talking about. So I'm lonely, I'm toxic, I'm unhealed, I'm unhealthy. And at this point, I was still at a point of thinking that I needed someone else to love me. I needed love from someone else more than I love myself. So I moved one man to California. I moved him here. That didn't last but a few months. So boom, he goes back to Alabama. Because both of these two little parts, both these men were from Alabama. So no sooner than said one person moves from Alabama, I move another person, another man, me, bought the ticket, moved him here, brought him to California with me, thinking that, okay, this is the relationship. This is what it's going to be. Of course, TikTok is restoring service. Okay. When y'all did know that was going to happen. Okay. I'm back. I wasn't even concerned about that. That's going to be on tomorrow's message. So I move another man to California, and it was an extremely toxic relationship. But it was the relationship that, it didn't break me, but it showed me my brokenness. Does that make sense? The relationship, he didn't break me, but it showed me how broken I was. And so that lasted for a few years. I wasn't um but again, ashamed, because I was ashamed to let people know that I was living. There was a man living in my house. He wasn't paying no bills. He wasn't being responsible. He wasn't helping me. I'm just doing, taking care. But he was basically just not doing anything for me. So now I'm ashamed of that. So about 2020, I'll say the beginning of 2020, I kind of started to wake up. And that was like when I really started to wake up. Like I started reading tarot in 2019. But I really just started to wake up, or yeah, because I start well, the end of 2018 going into 2019, I start reading tarot. And so now I'm waking up and I'm starting to learn more about myself and know myself. And I'm starting to look at these situations and say, hey, like I deserve more than this. And so fast forward, so now I'm learning to love myself, and I'm realizing that this is a very unhealthy and toxic relationship and situation, but I couldn't really, there was nothing I could really do. Like I felt like I couldn't do anything about it at the time. And again, just shame as I'm going through this. And so eventually, like next 2021, I believe it was 2021 or either 2022, I finally get rid of that situation. It took a lot. We'll talk about it on another episode. But I finally started to break through this I'm ashamed of stuff. Well, anyway, um, now fast forward to September 22, and now I meet God. And one of the first things that God required me to do was face myself and face the lies that I had been telling myself as well as telling other people. And so in this time and meeting with God, um, I tell the truth. I start telling people the truth about why I lost my license. It was me. I was addicted to drugs and I was going through this and I was dealing with this and I had been lying for years. And so, but the Lord made me come clean with those things. And so, hence why it's nothing for me to talk about now, because of course the Lord delivered me from these things. And so, um, but for a long time I was ashamed. And so the Lord brought this up to me last night because he was just like all of that he like he's done so much work on me and my heart and my mindset, and he's developed me so much. He was like, why are you ashamed of telling this story on Facebook? And there was a part of me last night that as I watched the video from 2023, and as I didn't post the video on Facebook yesterday, that was just like you're ashamed because there are people who are getting ready to know me. You know, I don't have like this huge following, y'all, but there are people who may see now the story that I'm telling that have never seen me tell this story. I have talked about all of this stuff before, but there are people now who will see this story who maybe weren't paying attention before, who the Lord may put now, he'll put this story in front of different people maybe now, and he had to just convict me and be like, listen, you're gonna be all right, you got to tell it. And so as a result of that, that's what he wanted me to talk about today. I want to encourage somebody because and just it and hopefully uplift you and let you know that I think everybody goes through it. I think everybody goes through some kind of hidden struggle that they don't want people to know, like just how bad sometimes your life is, just how bad and how difficult something that you're going through is, just how much you may have messed your life up or made the wrong decisions. But I'm so grateful because God has removed shame from me. He doesn't he can't I can't serve the Lord and be ashamed of my story. And so that's what he told me today. And so he wanted me to come on here and talk to y'all about your story is exactly as was supposed to be, is supposed to be. Whatever you've gone through is exactly what you were supposed to go through. God knew the decisions that you were going to make before you made them. And I read a comment on the first video from this morning that kind of reiterated the fact that we're talking about this. Because again, I ain't know. I was like, well, Lord, I don't even know how you want me to release these or what we were gonna talk about. And so, and as I was sitting here and just allowing him to talk to me, he was like, you need to go talk to people because there's so many people ashamed of their story. There's so many people ashamed of what they're going through. There's so many people ashamed of being in abusive relationships. There's so many people ashamed of being homeless. There are so many people ashamed of being poor. There are so many people ashamed. And that's why I talked about like my ego when I went to Miami. I ain't have nothing, y'all. Like it was my ego that made me go and just, but I walked in there confident. I walked in there like I knew, like I was more than what I was. Now, I ain't mad because I am more than what I look like. Does that make sense to somebody? Like, I'm very humble because the Lord has humbled me since then, because my ego is no longer in control of how I act or what I do or the moves that I make. But at that time, I was very ego based and I was very much focused on money and worldly things, and I definitely wasn't focused on the Lord. And so, but he had to take me through that experience in order for me to understand humility, in order for me to understand how the difference between who I was then and who I am now. And so I just want to encourage somebody, like, yeah, it sucks. And everybody's assignment isn't to talk about what you're going through. Everybody's assignment isn't to come up here and share your story the way that God has me sharing this story. But in this story, I hope and I pray that you will be okay with whatever your story is. It takes time. And the reason I'm telling y'all that I went, it's like from, telling y'all the things that I've gone through in the past to and even up until this moment where the Lord ain't never told me not to share. It was me feeling some type of way about, man, but who somebody might see this story. Somebody from home, and the Lord said, wait a minute, I thought we was past this. And he did it, of course, in a loving way. He disciplines us because he loves us. Um, but it's not like you won't have those moments where especially because this is something new for me. I've told this story. There are many people who have heard parts of this story, but I've never just recorded it like this. Like, it's recorded different bits and pieces as I'm giving messages or what have you, but I've never just recorded a lot of this story this way. And so I had a moment where I just was like, man, people finna really know like some things about me that the Lord delivered me from, but that were not the best parts of me or my life. Um, and and I want you to know that you don't have to be embarrassed about your story, because what the Lord showed me and told me last night is He's going to use every part of your story. He's going to he's going to use every experience that you've had in order to cultivate a better you, in order to strengthen you. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is wasted. So there's something that you've experienced and something that you've gone through, and maybe it just made you a better person. Maybe you ain't meant to come and share your story like I'm sharing this, but you can look back on something that you've experienced, and I guarantee all of us have can say something that's like, I bet you I won't ever do that again. When you know better, you do better. I bet you, man, like I can think on stuff that I've done, and I was just like, man, I was so foolish. What was I thinking? It could have gone a completely different way. Like, we all have those stories and those moments that we can reflect on and be like, man, listen, when I was out clubbing, and y'all, like, I done some things. And so I'm popping pills. Y'all, I was all over the place. Okay. And so, and there were times where I was in dangerous situations, like dangerous, and, having shootouts with my ex, literally. Yes, y'all, shootouts. Story for another day. But it's just like, I've been in some really, really shameful situations, but all God could tell me was like, yep, but I'm able to use it now. So I'm able to come up here and talk to people about the shame that God has delivered me from, the shame of the things that the decisions that I've made, the position that I have put myself in. Um, and He wants you to know, like, He's going to use that. Even what the enemy meant for evil, God meant for good. Who knew that I would one day be sitting here telling this story of my life? Who knew that one day this story would reach millions of people and encourage millions of people to not be ashamed of what they've gone through? It when you don't know something, you just don't know. When you don't know, you don't know, y'all. And that's what the Lord wanted me to talk about today. You cannot change your past. You cannot change who you used to be. You cannot change the experiences that you've gone through, but you can use them. And part of your wilderness journey, part of your transformation, part of what the Lord will do in your wilderness season is to help you release the shame of the things that you have allowed yourself to experience, whether it's toxic relationships, whether it's messing your money up, being irresponsible with your money, your resources, your finances. Um, the Lord will remove shame from you. And that was and for a long time, even at the beginning of this journey when I was lost everything. So this now fast forward 2023, and it's me and my son, and we're moving all over the place and in these Airbnbs, and then boom, I have to give him up because I'm living in the car. There was a long time where I was embarrassed about that. I was ashamed of that, like, man. So if you go and watch this first video that I'm going to release from 2023. I receive it, Lord. When you'll hear me talk about stuff, and none of that stuff has come to fruition. Um, like you'll hear me talk about, you know, people that I was associated with at that time. I'm not associated with any of these people anymore. And and even in those, man, come on, God, even in those associations, there were things that happened that I'm ashamed of, because it took many times, it took many times for me to learn some lessons. And it took it took a minute for me to complete. It wasn't until 2023. And so I will say from 2022, it took me about a year for the Lord to teach me a very, very, very valuable lesson about returning to things that he told me that are not good for me, dealing with people that he told me are not good for me, whether relationships, business, or personal, even family. It took me many, many spins where I had to spin the block many times. Okay. Many times I had to spin the block for the Lord to show me, I said, this is not good for you. I had to lose and then lose again. You'll see on that particular video where I was very green, y'all, very naive. And I still don't know everything. But one thing I pray for is the gift of discernment. I pray that whenever something is presented to me now, or even like anything that comes into my life, I pray and be like, hey, Daddy, what's up with this? Because at that time I was very gullible and I was very naive, and I was way more trusting than I am now. Then I wanted to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and I would allow people to put me in precarious situations. I would allow people to put me in situations that were detrimental to me. I would give people chance after chance after chance after chance, even if they were burning me. Like every time, chance burned, chance given, burned again, chance given, burned again. Like, y'all, I went through that over and over and over, because my whole mindset then was, oh, well, I'm gonna get my blessings. I still have that mindset, but you're not gonna get over on me. You're not gonna get over on me the way you used to be able to get over on me. I'm a little wiser now, have a little bit more discernment now. And so but I can remember being ashamed that I put myself in the same situation, the same circumstances so many times. Like, there were many times that I was ashamed of that, until the Lord finally said, hey, you did it, but now you know better, you won't do it again. But it took me, I would say, about a year to really, really, really get that lesson, and it was hard. So that was, I take from 2022 to 2023. It took me a minute to learn those lessons, but I learned them. So keep in mind as you're watching those videos, like that, like I said last night, when I watched that video, I was like, oh man, I can't believe where I was. I can't believe where my mindset was. I can't believe just how not, and I put it in the comments, like, I can't believe how naive I was at that time. I can't believe how, just where I was. But the Lord said, but it was necessary for me to be at that point, for me to be at this point now, a year and a half later, to see the growth. to see the progress, to see the changes that God has made in my mindset, in my heart posture, in my spirit. Um, he's changed so much. He's changed so much for me from then until now. And so I am going to release these kind of in tandem. So even right now, because we're the message is getting ready to come on at 11 o'clock, I'm going to go back and release the first video. So I hope that y'all watch it. And I told, because I even told the Lord, I was like, Dad, I'm be releasing so much stuff. He said, I know. He said, but it's going to allow people to see the growth in me as I continue to grow and as I continue to mature in the things of the Lord, as I continue to mature in mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, as I continue to grow, it will allow you to see both sides. It will allow you to see where I was, where I came from, and where I'm going. And that's what the Lord messaged. Come on, 5 years ago today. Look back at January 19th, 2020. I don't even know what I was doing January 19th, 2020. But I have to go look at that Google memory. But yeah, y'all, don't be ashamed of your story. And it's hard. It's easy sometimes to say that, but one of the things, y'all know, we're focused in on the wilderness, right? Um, as the Lord has you in your wilderness season, as the Lord has you in your training season, because that's all the wilderness is, it's simply preparation. And I even created an oracle deck, y'all. That's where a word in the wilderness came from, because I created a word in the wilderness last year, I believe. Well, no, 2020, beginning of 2024, I believe. Or either actually, I think I created it at the end of 2023. Yeah, actually I did. I created a word in the wilderness at the end of 2023. Um, or started to, but it's just like you're in your wilderness season, it's your training season. It's when you're going to have to face you. You're going to have to be accountable for your actions. And you're gonna go through a period where you may want to beat yourself up a little bit. And because I've done it, and I think all of us do. We beat ourselves up for things that we've done or experienced. But one thing that I would encourage is like, you can't change it. So why beat yourself up about it? If you can't do anything about it now, which we can't, that's the one thing we don't have control over. We don't have the ability to change, to go back in time. We don't have the ability to change things from our past, but we can change our present and we can change our future. So why beat yourself up about something that you can't do anything about? We all do it. We all sit and we'll, woe is me. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I stayed with him. I can't believe I let her take advantage of me. Like, we all go through that. Man, I can't believe I did that. And then now you want to have a pity party for yourself. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with pity parties, but don't let it last too long, because after you get done feeling sorry for yourself, now what? I'm a firm believer in having your moments. I'm a firm believer in crying your tears. I'm a firm believer in releasing your emotions and feeling how you feel. Feel the feels. Okay. I'm a believer in that. But I'm even more of a believer. And I'm gonna go talk to God about it. And I'm a cry and I'll be like, Dad, I can't believe I did this. And what was I thinking? And OMG. I'm not quite that way now, because God actually get help. I trust God, so he helps me to make better decisions than I've made. But so I don't really have any pity parties for myself anymore. I just don't. Thank God for God. In my wilderness season, he's transformed that part of me to where if something happens in my life, I know that there's something I can learn from it. Everything happens because God allows it to happen. And that is my belief now, but that wasn't my belief then. So many of the videos you will see as I continue to post these from the past, not these ones, but from the past, you'll see me kind of just, all over the place and having my pity parties and, you know, trying my best to cope with it. But now I have the understanding that it's just like, okay, Lord, if something happens, what can I learn from this? Like, what do I need to learn from this experience message? What do I need to, how can I grow from this? How can I use this? How can this help me, good or bad? And if it's something that's outside of my control, Wait a minute. I lost y'all. My bad, y'all. And if it's something outside of my control, then I just be like, oh, okay. Like I God has me in a position, in a mindset and a heart set. Come on, heart set. And like I just be like, okay, Lord. I don't worry the way that I used to worry. I don't, because it's the way my faith is set up. I trust God. If I don't do nothing else, I trust the Lord. And I know that if He has the things, because of the things that He has brought me through, there's just no way that I can't trust him. There's no way that I can't believe. There's no way. So if something happened, I'll just be like, oh, okay. Stuff, life still be life, and y'all. Like you know, stuff still be going on. The other day, couple weeks ago, my car was smoking. I had got my oil changed. Thank God for God. Had gotten my oil changed, and all of a sudden I had all this white smoke coming. I'm just like, well, Lord, if you want the car, you can have it. It's yours. I'm just renting it from the Lord. You know what I'm saying? He let me borrow it. And so now I just be like, oh, okay, God, well, it is what it is. Okay, well, this is what God's allowing to happen to me. And having that mentality just lets me go through my days different, because I know that God is in control. I know that God is in control of my life. I know that He knows exactly where I'm at. I know He knows exactly what I'm going through. He has His eyes on me. So knowing that everything in my life is happening for my good, even if it seems bad, it has changed the way I respond, the way I react to things. You know, many of us, we want to pop off and we want to get mad, or different stuff happen, and you just be like, man, ain't this ain't this something? But I don't get as triggered as I used to, because I'm just like, okay, well, Lord, fix it. Okay, Lord, what do I need to do? Okay, Lord, show me a pathway, show me a way out. What do I need to do? How can I fix this? What is the part that I need to do? How do I need to, you know, what can I do? If I can't do anything, then I wait on God to do something, because there are a lot of times where you can't do anything, so you have to wait on God. Um, but all of that to say, y'all, as you're going on your journey, we're all going to make mistakes. And for my young people that watch this, you're gonna mess up. And even my older people, right? You're gonna mess up. You're gonna make the wrong decision sometimes. You're gonna take a path, have a relationship, you're gonna go through experiences that you're gonna look back on and be like, what what's wrong with you? Why, as you grow through stuff, you look back and be like, man, I was so foolish. Because I can say that, and you laugh at yourself. The things that you are now, you are ashamed of now, you will later laugh at and be like, man, Lord, I don't know what I was thinking. Man, I was doing some crazy stuff. And it don't feel like that as you're going through it. But I promise you that you will get to a point of maturity where you will look back and be like, man, thank you, God, for bringing me through that. Man, I made some crazy decisions, Lord. I did some crazy things, and I'm so grateful that you forgave me for those things. I'm so grateful that you delivered me from those things. I'm so grateful that you continue to love me through those things. Like, I'm so grateful. You will get to a point where those, you'll no longer be ashamed of those things, because as you continue to grow and develop and walk on your journey and experience your assignment, your life, because your life is your assignment, um you'll release the shame and embrace that it taught you something, it made you better, it strengthened you, it transformed you, it elevated you. Just, you'll learn to really just love yourself. You'll learn to really just be like, man, thank you, Lord. Like, thank you for recreating me. Thank you for giving me a new heart, a new mind, a new spirit. Like, you'll learn to embrace those things and appreciate even the things that you did that maybe you are ashamed of. So, anyway, I think that's it. I hope this helps somebody. Just know that part of your wilderness training will be the Lord removing any shame from you for anything that you have done. But you're going to have to go through that experience. You're going to have to go through it and allow the Lord to remove it. So, anyway, Lord, I hope this helps somebody. Y'all, Hydrate your soul and things. Drink your water. Say your gratitude. Have a fantastic and amazing day in purpose and on purpose. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Love y'all. Bye, y'all. Thank you, Lords.